Howdy guys, Tyler Bobo again here. I just did a video about inflation and what the Fed is trying to do with interest rates to fight that, some of the things that are causing it or contributing factors like supply chain issues, price of oil right now. There's lots of things going on, but the fact of the matter, there's a lot of inflation going on right now. Whether you believe what the government's saying about the 8.5% or you look around the grocery store and realize that that's crap, either way, tons of inflation. So we know that inflation's here. What are we going to do about it to help preserve or build wealth? Well, I'm going to show you one quick strategy that I do and a lot of real estate investors do when we're in an inflationary time like that, and that is leverage, which means borrow money. Not just borrow money on depreciating assets or credit cards or for any little reason. Specifically borrow money to buy assets. So let's go over this example real quick. Let's say I buy a $300,000 house and I use 100% leverage, which is pretty difficult to do, but I'm using this as an example. So I've borrowed 100% of this $300,000 to buy this house. Now, when inflation happens over several years, let's just say that the value of this house doubles in 5 years. It'd be pretty extreme, but hear me out. So in 5 years, the intrinsic value of this house hasn't really changed, right? It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house in a reasonable neighborhood. It's good. Its use is to house one middle-class family, right? Well, 5 years later, its intrinsic value is still the same. It provides reasonable housing for one middle-class family, but its dollar value, if it doubled in value, is now $600,000. So let's say you didn't even pay the debt down very much. You still owe about $300,000 because that's how loans work a lot of times. They're front-loaded, so you pay more interest in the beginning. So let's say you still owe about $300,000, but the property has gone up to $600 value. 600,000. So the intrinsic value of the house hasn't changed. What changed is the value of the dollar because of inflation. So inflation doesn't mean that things are getting more valuable. It means that the dollar is getting less valuable. The intrinsic value, the real value of that home is the same in 5 years as it is now. What's changed is the value of the dollar. Following so far? So if the value of the dollar has changed and you borrowed the money, then you've actually let inflation eat away half your debt. So let's look at that house. You've got a $600,000 house now. Of course, $600,000 isn't what it used to be 5 years ago. You've got a $600,000 house with $300,000 worth of debt. What that means is you have let inflation buy you half of that house. So that would have been $150,000 old dollars, but it's $300,000 new dollars, which are worth half as much in this example. And so either way, the intrinsic value, the value of one home, which is always a valuable asset, in 5 years, in our example, you have gotten half of that house for free, which is pretty cool. Now, hear me out. Follow this on a larger scale. Say you buy 10 homes that are adequate to house one family in a reasonable middle-class neighborhood. So you buy 10 homes and you leverage them 100%. Again, that's not very doable for most people. But for my example, you borrowed $3 million to buy 10 $300,000 homes. And then now, 5 years later, or however long it takes those homes to double in value, which they didn't double in value, remember, they're still the same intrinsic value. The dollar has been eaten away on inflation. So now that $3 million worth of real estate is worth $6 million, but you only owe $3 million still because that's what you borrowed. So now, 5 years later, if you were to sell those 10 homes, you would have a profit of approximately $3 million, in which case you could go buy at that price. In the future, you could go buy 5 homes free and clear. So you're basically getting 5 homes for free. If you do that 100 times, and then by the time they double in value, then you've got 50 free homes. Now, it's not that easy to just go borrow millions of dollars with nothing down. I'm just using that as an example as to how you can use this inflation to eat away your debt. So there's a lot of talk about the interest rates going up, but I just want to point out right now, spring of 2022, it's still in the 5% range. It'll probably still be going up, but listen, if inflation is 8 or 10% or potentially more, who knows what the real number is, but even if it's just the 8.5 that they're saying, if it's inflating at 8% and it's only costing you 5%, then that means you're getting 3.5% profit on anything you can borrow if you buy a real asset. And there's other advantages we've talked about on other videos about your tax advantage you get for owning real estate, the rental income, the mortgage pay down, which I completely omitted in this example just to keep it real easy. But if you borrow money right now and buy real assets, unless you think that the inflation is going to stop or turn around, it should be a pretty solid investment. That being said, there are obviously risks to borrowing money. So you want to make sure that you're not doing it without a solid education and background and know what you're doing. So in the example I gave, I talked about 100% leverage and doubling its value because those are really easy numbers to figure out, to show you what the advantage of doing that is. I don't recommend borrowing 100% for investment properties generally if you're paying full value for them. So anyways, we can talk about that more if you want to get in touch about different loan products, different ways to get into real estate. We'd love to talk to you about that. So anyways, this inflation is very bad for the country. It's not good, but if you can know that it's coming, believe that it's coming, and use it to your advantage, doesn't mean that you can't make a profit on it and come out ahead. So don't let this inflation do as much damage to you as it is to our country right now. So wish it wasn't here, but while it's here, I'm gonna use it as best I can to make a profit and prosper even if times are tough. So anyways, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Got a YouTube channel to subscribe to, and of course I'm always looking for inventory if you're looking to buy or sell. Thank you. Bye.